We're back, y'all. We're live, and we are covering news. Pastor Sandy, are you ready to get into some things?
I think so.
And this first one, I'm excited about.
I'm excited about the first story for sure.
This is just a little fun thing for us.
It is.
Because we got to experience this. We came back from the Holy Land, blinked our eyes, and then, by the way, we got on a plane, went to the Holy Land. As soon as we left the country, revival broke out in America. I mean, in fact, people in the church said, y'all need to leave the country more often so revival can continue to burn. But I was excited about that. Yeah. So while we're in Israel, Asbury and all this kind of stuff broke out. And then the most perfectly timed, I think, movie that we've ever experienced.
So good.
We were able to go see it. And it is Shocking Hollywood. Jesus Revolution. What did you think about that movie?
I loved it. It was amazing. It was fun. It was insightful. When I came out, I just wanted to give the whole world a great big Jesus hug.
Oh, my goodness. It was incredible because, quite frankly, it's a part of our history that's really not talked about. It's the greatest awakening that this nation has ever seen. I mean, tens of thousands every week were being born again. Hippies and all of that. And it all started from somebody else. Oh, I don't want to go watch the movie. But the way it started was incredible. But I want to read this. Jesus Revolution is shocking Hollywood with packed theaters. Number 3 finish is being labeled miraculous. The faith-based film Jesus Revolution surprised Hollywood observers by packing theaters and crushing its projection over the weekend, soaring to number 3 at the box office. The movie, which tells the true story of the hippie-led revival in the 1960s and 70s, grossed an estimated $15.5 million. Listen to this, more than double what Box Office Pro said last week was at the bottom of its projected range of $7 to $12 million. So it is shocking what is happening, because why it is so shocking and so amazing is these are movies. And I'll just go ahead and tell you this. This is not a spoiler because it's a Christian movie, and you need to know that if you're on the fence whether you want to go and take your family. Sandy, there is a scene in this movie where Greg Laurie confesses Jesus Christ as his Savior, and he doesn't just say, I embrace love. He just doesn't say, yeah, I believe in a God. He prays the sinner's prayer, confesses that he is a sinner, asks Jesus to forgive him of his sins, come into his heart. That was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen.
I was amazed. My mouth flew open, and I couldn't believe what we were seeing.
I couldn't either.
That this was in a theater.
Absolutely. That was in a theater. And you know, I can't believe, as experienced moviegoers as we are, to know Avengers taught us.
Major fail.
Avengers taught us, stay to the end of the credits. But we were just so excited. We wanted to go out and make a live stream about it and all that. And we found out later, and I've seen it and I've shared it, stay to the end of the credits when you go. Because at the end of the credits, when the last scroll, he comes on, he literally Greg Laurie walks into the screen and stands there and says, and tears comes in his eyes, and he says, if you made it to this point in the movie and you're in that theater, it's because God is getting ready to change your life. Give your life to Jesus right now. If you are a sinner, raise your hand in that theater right now and pray the sinner's prayer. And he leads them from the screen in the unapologetic sinner's prayer.
Beautiful. I hate that we missed it, but I'm so excited that it's in the movie. The movie it just makes you feel so good. Learning the history and just seeing how it's presented. It's so applicable to today, to right now. And you're going to be blessed if you see this movie. And we all need to come together and just start a new movement right here in our area.
Right now.
A movement is already begun. We're already in a moment, but it needs to happen right here where we live.
And I'll tell you
North Central Alabama.
I know it's going to happen. Some of y'all going to try to bow up on me. You're coming at me. You're trying to, well, yeah, but you don't know the full story. It didn't tell the full story of what happened to Lonnie Frisbee and all this. I know the full story. I know the full story, but you know what else? I know my full story. I know David's full story. I know everybody's full story. And everybody didn't always keep it together, and everybody didn't always do right, and people backslide. But you can't take what somebody did down the road and backslide. But by the way, you need to go back and study the whole thing, because he was completely redeemed at the end. He renounced everything that maybe he had slid back off in later on in his life. And if you don't even know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Go see the movie. But I like the fact that they did not shy away from.
No, they did not cover it up.
They didn't cover it up.
They didn't sweep it under the rug. They didn't avoid it or ignore it. It was touched on.
Yeah, it was.
And you can find out the full rest of the story on your own. But it was not.
Nope, it wasn't.
No, it's not ignored.
So we wanted to come on here and just celebrate it.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something. unapologetically tell you, take your family to see this movie.
Yes.
And take your lost loved ones to this movie. All right, so we're going to shift gears now. That was a little fun thing here.
Well, before we move, we got to say something about the Irwin brothers. What will they do next?
Oh, yeah. What? Birmingham boys. Come on.
Birmingham boys. They already have a great repertoire of what, their previous work.
I can only imagine.
Yes.
And now this. What's coming next?
What is coming next?
Because, we were raised up in the church in the cheesy ones. Y'all remember the cheesy ones? I mean, it was a Christian movie. You was just like, oh, God.
I know.
Oh, God. Okay. Only people that's going to watch it is the youth group that you made watch it. But now we got quality stuff, top-notch actors. It is such a well-done movie.
It is.
And can we say something? I know God can do anything. He may not be able to beat Ant-Man. Come on, got the Marvel Universe behind. But can we beat that stupid cocaine bear?
Please.
Can we beat the cocaine bear? Go to the movie and beat the cocaine bear. All right, we're moving on. All right, so the next news item of tonight is not really a news item. It'll be a real quick thing that we're going to cover.
This is lovely, too. I love this.
I just can't even believe that this happened. Woody Harrelson went on Saturday Night Live, y'all, this past Saturday night, and he is just being tore up right now. Woody Harrelson's Saturday Night Live monologue garnered instant backlash and praise over commentary hinting at government's collusion with media and the medical industry to require the whack, 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 whack. So the movie goes like this. I'll just let him tell it if I forgot it down. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I want y'all to this was the this is just a few seconds.
Yeah.
Just a few seconds.
Very short.
But this just really shows you how tore up people are, that this man has had a life of being on their side and being a liberal, quite frankly, in his politics and all this, a very successful, and they're going to turn on him because of what he says right now.
Okay, so the movie goes like this. The biggest drug cartels in the world get together and buy up all the media and all the politicians and force all the people in the world to stay locked in their homes, and people can only come out if they take the cartel's drugs and keep taking them over and over. I threw the script away. I mean, who is going to believe that crazy idea?
So you understand, he was trying to be funny that somebody had pitched him this crazy movie idea. And everybody knew what he's talking about. And look who shared it. Elon Musk said, so based, nice work, NBC, SNL.
But who comes out against him? Rolling Stone magazine and two others. I cannot remember who they were.
Oh, Variety magazine, Media Matters, Huffington Post, all the ones. They basically self-fulfilled what he said. Yeah. He said, you are all owned by the corporation, blah, 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 blah. And all the media-owned corporations are trying to cancel Woody Harrelson now.
Yes, they are.
All right, so speaking of what he was talking about, guess what else came out in the news today? Can I just say that the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories are batting pretty good average right now.
Can I
by the way, thank you for that. Well, look at that super sticker. Thank you, King Lon. Appreciate that.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
I did not know that the energy department needed to release this information to us.
Yeah, I found out today. The reason it was the energy department, it's a part of this overacting. All the departments are a part of this. The energy is a part of systems, and supposedly it came out. But regardless, our government this week, read the headline for us, baby.
Lab leak most likely origin of COVID-19 pandemic, Energy Department now says. Why do we have to keep coming back and reminding us over and over again?
The very thing that if you would have said this last year, you would have got banned on this platform.
Probably.
No, there's not probably. When people said this originated in a lab in Wuhan, they were banned from YouTube. It was called a conspiracy theory. But now our government says U.S. agencies' revised assessment is based on new intelligence. Well, look at there, new intelligence. And as you said, very strange that this comes from the U.S. Energy Department, has now concluded that the whack most likely arose from a lab leak, according to a classified intelligence report recently provided to the White House and key members of Congress. The shift by the Energy Department, which previously was undecided on how the virus emerged, I can say that word, I think, is noted in an update to the 2021 document by the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines' office. The new report highlights how different parts of intelligence community have arrived to different judgments, but now they join the Federal Bureau of Investigation saying the virus likely spread via a mishap at a Chinese laboratory. Can I just say on the record now, and I'm sure that I'm going to get in trouble with everybody that's running the show right now, all these people that are listening to me and tracking me, but we got in trouble before for saying it came from a lab. No, we got him. He's calling in. He's calling in. It's time for Stan's coming in. Stan's coming in. All right, Stan.
So we can definitively say it wasn't that fruit bat or that little pangolin.
Yeah.
Where it originated from.
So I'm going to go on the record and say this as well, that it ain't going to be long on our show that we're going to come back and it's going to be confirmed that it wasn't an accidental lab leak, that it was an intentional thing that was being done. So I'm just saying.
Please stay tuned.
In just a moment, we're going to bring in our guest, Stan Deyo. Stan, if you can hear me, can you wave at me if you can hear me? I don't know if you can hear. All right. So, yeah, he's waiting. We're going to bring him in just a second on the show, and it's going to be incredible. But we're going to hit one or two more quick things, and we're going to bring our guest in.
Awesome.
But this right here tells us something that's big, too.
Oh, yes.
A lot of things that are going on right now, we're being told Russia. It's always been Russia for years now, starting in the Trump administration and now the war in Ukraine. But what's happening behind the scenes while we're being distracted by the war in Ukraine, quite frankly, is what China's getting ready to do. And Chinese media pundit says U.S. troops in Taiwan will be wiped out if China invades as U.S. sends troops to Taiwan. It's illegal for these U.S. soldiers to go into Taiwan and Chinese mainland. This is a quote. Won't take any responsibility for their safety. If we take military action when necessary, they will be wiped out together with the resisting Taiwan troops. They can also be eliminated first as the invading army. And it goes on to say that they declare it to be illegal for the United States to send soldiers to Taiwan to protect them from the probable incoming invasion of China, as they have said. But right now we are sending, U.S. this is the Wall Street Journal, U.S. to expand troop presence in Taiwan for training against China threat. So you have China. And if you'll remember right here on this program, just a couple of weeks ago, we covered that a general in the United States Air Force, it was a leaked memo that was sent down to his subordinates saying, in his gut, he feels like the United States will be at war with China by 2024. You remember?
No, 2025.
2025.
2025, which is soon enough.
That's soon enough. And so things are shaping up to take us in that direction.
It really is a powder keg. You know, the Taiwanese, they have a different type of life.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They enjoy much more freedoms and, probably closer to capitalistic type lifestyle. And, so many things that we need come from there.
Yep.
And even things that the Chinese need come from Taiwan.
Yep.
So obviously they want to move in and take complete control over that place.
Yep.
And they know that when they do, here we are on their doorstep, and it's just going to be bad.
And you remember the leaked information coming out of China too was saying they were so excited about us pouring all this money into the Ukrainian war because the plan was, and this general said, what his fear is that China knows that we're going to be distracted not only by all this money. Now it's over $100 billion, something like that.
Plus, we're depleting our arsenals to some extent.
That's right. Because we
sending troops over there.
Yes. And then, this is what they said, they know how divisive our elections are going to be, so they're going to wait until 2024 election cycle is in full swing, and we're all warring against each other, Republican and Democrat, and we poured all our money, all our military resources into a war, and then they're going to invade Taiwan.
We can't cover 2 and 3 different wars or areas in the world that are ramping up I mean, nobody can do that.
We can't do it.
We can't do it.
And I tell you, our guest that's going to come in tonight, he knows a lot about this.
Yes, he does.
He knows a lot about what's going on, and we're going to talk about several things. I am so excited to see him in here, and we'll talk a little bit more, and I'm loving his background that y'all are about to see, y'all.
Okay.
This is going to be interesting. I want everybody in the big picture world to welcome Mr. Stan Deyo. How you doing, sir? The crowd's going wild for you, sir.
Yeah.
How are you? Can you hear us good?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Welcome to
Do
the
I
Big
need to
Picture
raise the
Live.
level or anything?
No, you're good. I got you on here. I got a good level on you. You're good. Everything's good.
All
All right. So it's great to have you. We are live right now, Mr. Stan Deyo, and we will not go too much into your bio tonight because that's why we have the show that we'll talk about at the end of this program tonight, pushing everybody to, if you're watching this live and if you're on replay, it'd be easy to find, but live tonight, then come right back to this channel tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time, right here on The Big Picture. We have a detailed interview with our guest tonight.
Yes. But we need your expert
but we
analysis tonight.
We want to ask you some questions tonight, Stan, about, and I see your background.
goodness.
I can recognize that spiked protein. So that's in your background there, and what it all entails. So before we get into a couple of news items, do you want to share anything that maybe be breaking news on your end, Mr. Deyo? And I believe by the background you want to talk to us a little bit about that subject. So I want to open the floor for you for just a few minutes to share anything that's on your heart, and then we'll hit a few news items that we've got on our end.
All right. Well, I guess you can see from there, I've got the COVID vaccine, or
Yes,
not the
sir.
vaccine, the COVID virus up behind me there. It, whether it's from a bat in the market over in China somewhere, or whether it's intentionally released, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm looking at biblical prophecy.
Come on.
Yeah, say again.
I said, come on. I'm just talking to you. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Okay. In Revelation 6:7, when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and the rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they were given authority over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. Now, obviously, we've got famine starting already. We've got huge amounts of crops that have been destroyed by drought and by flood, believe it or not. We've got bird flu, which has been causing a lot of chickens to be destroyed, millions of them to be just burned or buried. And we've got the threat of a nuclear war in the Middle East. And here on our turf, if our quote unquote government doesn't do the right thing, and China and Russia and possibly Iran joins them, come and invade the United States, I know that that's probably going to happen. But all these things put together, when they start talking about adding to that a WHO treaty to come in and override our national law, our state laws, national law, whatever, that's like the UN sending in blue hats, their own soldiers to get us to conform. Now, even though the Associated Press is, that's saber-rattling, that's ridiculous. We're not going to see that. I read their whole thing here from the AP, and of course, their AP is going to be defending the globalist agenda. But I did look at a working draft that's over in the European Journal of International Law, and they say that Article 4 in the preamble says principles, in quote, define One Health as multi-sectoral actions that recognize the importance of animal health, human health, and environmental health working together to achieve better public outcomes. And I'll just interject here that, this One Health term is very kind of nebulous. I mean, if you look at what I said, it didn't give any specifics. It kind of gives them a blank check, and people don't realize this, that when they make a blank statement like that, a general statement, that it can be reinterpreted all along the way.
Mr. Deyo, can I take a moment to show them what you're talking about? Because I want to let everyone know. I want to show them this article, and I want to do something real quick. See if I can do this. Yeah. Okay. I want to put you in here. All right. Okay. So this is what Mr. Deyo is talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening, and I believe the first initial draft vote was today. But it says over the weekend, reports surfaced that the Biden administration was preparing to enter the United States into a legally binding agreement with the World Health Organization that would grant the entity authority to mandate America's health care policies in the event of a future pandemic. Experts say the proposed plan would be unprecedented violation of the Constitution, which grants the Senate the authority to approve international treaties. Now, as you said earlier, there's 100. When you and I were talking privately, there's 194 member countries in the WHO, and per their agreement with countries that this would need to be ratified. But one of the things that I read, and I don't know if you read it, Stan, was that including in this draft is the ability for an existing president to do something almost like an executive order that would go into effect pending ratification, and it would give them the ability to do this authority pending ratification. And most of these countries, will just put it off. And as long as it's sort of in waiting, that we would cede our authority as a nation to this. So it's just mind-boggling to me. So continue your thought, but I wanted people to see exactly what we're talking about.
Well, they're in that document, they're also saying to suspend intellectual property rights. So if American companies have things to do with manufacturing of masks or medical treatment or vaccines or whatever, for whatever epidemic comes along, then the rights to that are thrown out to the world. And so if you're an American company doing this, you're in trouble. I mean, they're just going to take it from you. And
they also have, in addition to that, under that same guise, it's almost like eminent domain. I think what you're talking about is they have eminent domain over inventions and even on property. I saw one person reading from the draft that they would have the ability to go into a country and say, I know this is your business here, but we're going to turn this into a mass distribution center and we're going to take over your business. And we would have to give that over. That's just mind-boggling.
It is. It's really a takeover. Look, on the one hand, I can see the value of that when we have a world pandemic, a bird flu gone wild or whatever, right, and you're going to try to save as many people in the world, not just the United States or Europe, as you can. I can see the value of that. But to do that properly, you have to have a trustworthy, reliable, truthful world government, world leader, in essence, something that can react quickly. And if you put it to a United Nations vote type thing, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of days, weeks for them to make up their mind about what kind of coffee they're going to serve, much less what to do about a pandemic.
That's true.
So I this is another reason we need a reliable world government. And Jesus will do that when he comes back. But until that time, run by men and run by Satan, this is going to be chaos. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be harming to everybody.
Yes, it is.
I just
and the thing that's so heartbreaking as I can see the compassion in your eyes, sir, and we feel the same way. And Sandy, you chime in with whatever you feel, is that we understand that these things are very real. These things are very serious. That when what we just went through, we had people in our church. Everybody that's watching this had someone that either had a horrible life with it or maybe even lost their life. So we know that there are things that have to be done in times of emergency. But when we also know the World Health Organization, but we also know the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, all these people, all these power brokers that are working behind the scenes. Klaus Schwab is famous for saying, never let a great crisis go to waste. And every time something like this happens, they seize power.
More control. And that's what this is about. Control, whether real or, whether it's real or not. It's all about grabbing more power.
It is.
And, an avian flu would be a very efficient way of creating pandemic, would it not, Mr. Deyo?
Let's cover that, and let's put this up here, and then you can comment on this, is that this is what now the talking points are. It's almost like they've moved on from C-19, and now they are saying this. You're hearing more and more people talk about this, and you just referred to it as well. The largest ever recorded outbreak of avian influenza bird flu is tearing through populations of poultry and wild birds across the world. There are growing fears that it might pose a risk to humans too. And on February 8th, the first official, and I have a hard time believing it's the only one, but they're admitting that there was the first official human that contracted this, and their family member contracted it. I'm not going to read this whole article, but it goes on to detail the fear is that this is so dangerous. From what I understand, and I'm sure you know so much more about it than we know, but from what I understand, that they fear that if the avian flu makes the transport over to human, and then it goes human to human, it's probably one of the most deadly combinations of any kind of disease or virus that can happen. Is that correct?
Oh, I absolutely agree. In Cambodia, they've had that little girl die of it, but the 17 people around her that were potentially exposed to the human form of it tested clean, according to the WHO. But it's coming, and if you believe biblical prophecy, it's going to come in a big way.
Yeah.
In our climate, the world is heating up, and this is a breeding ground for all kinds of exotic diseases. And with the amount of world travel we do by air, by boat, sea, and whatever, it's going to spread. And something like this could be so violent, it'd be like Ebola, not necessarily make you bleed from the eyes or anything, but it's going to be that contagious.
Wow.
So again, I can see why we need a global control over the spread of something like that. But
sure,
it's going to be, a grab for more.
Yeah, in a perfect
world. It won't
world.
stop there, will it?
No.
It won't stop at
No.
just controlling sickness and disease.
No. In a perfect world, as you said, if we had trustworthy people, then that really had the best interest of people in mind, I'm with you. I can understand how we can this best way to quickly stop it globally. But we can't trust our leaders, can we?
No. And somewhere in the near future, while all this is coming to a head with the famines, the drought, the nuclear war threat, somewhere in that period is when I see that people are going to be clamoring for a world government that's fair, just like we're doing here.
And a
that's
world
when
leader.
That's when the Antichrist is going to come. And he will be backed by satanic technology and power that people will just marvel at him. I mean,
It's amazing.
Our computers are so fast now, our quantum computers, that they can process all the data they have on a person in a millionth of a second, and all over the world. They get huge amounts of data they can crunch.
Wow.
So,
wow. Well, that's where we're going, and you've alluded to it several times, Sandy. You and I talk about Bible prophecy being fulfilled all the time around us. And, one of the things that Jesus said, that's, when you talk of anybody that knows anything about prophecy, they'll say, give me a sign of the end times. And one of the signs that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24 is there'll be earthquakes in diverse places and pestilence and all these things that we're talking about. So we talked about the pestilence tonight. Now let's talk about these earthquakes. And we've got some things that I know that you have some tremendous insight. And I just simply want to fire this one news article, and then I want to turn you loose to talk about it. And that is this. It says that a new Turkey earthquake, this happened just last night, kills another person and flattens more buildings. And it goes on to show you some rubble there. And then it says a 5.6 magnitude earthquake happened again last night, February 27th, 2023. And this is an earthquake shook southeast Turkey on Monday, killing one person, injuring 110, and causing 29 more buildings to collapse. Turkish authorities said triggering frantic work to rescue several people believed trapped in the rubble. Now listen to this. This is heartbreaking. The latest aftershock with a magnitude of 5.6 hit 3 weeks ago after a massive quake that has now killed over 50,000 people in Turkey and Syria. And it goes on to say that they had the one that was the one death. But, the world is seeing this, Stan, and the world is wondering, and I believe you have some thoughts on this. The world is wondering, why is this happening so much in this area and in this nation, really, Turkey and Syria and that whole area? Is there something else going on that we need to know about that is more than just plates and shifting?
Well, I think that the New World Order is going to probably be seated in Turkey, because it'll be the center of the old East and West Roman Empire, the two legs that were Nebuchadnezzar's dream that Daniel interpreted. So for this to be happening in Turkey, it's drawing our attention to that. There's going to be massive changes there. The earthquakes that are occurring there are, there's about, on that map you're seeing there that I made, it's about 384 temblors, they call them.
Wow.
But it's
Look at that.
earthquake.
So this is, you sent me this. Is every one of those white dots an earthquake or a tremor or an aftershock?
Yes. Yeah. And they're yellow ones are, and there might be one or two small red ones somewhere in there, but the red pins that you see there are locating the Murat and the Euphrates River. In the days of Rome and Greece, the start of the Euphrates River, which is important where the headwaters are, was in the Murat River, which is the upper right-hand part where you see all those little red pins.
Now, is this helping you, what you're talking about now?
Go back just a second. Go back to the
Okay.
These red pins in this one here are all on the right side here, and they come down and feed into the Euphrates.
Yes.
Now, the Euphrates started in the Murat River, according to the Roman times, but now it's somewhere in the region of these white earthquakes, right in the center there.
Wow.
And I've traced over all that. There needs to be some massive adjustments to stop the water flow to the Euphrates. Now, why is that important? Okay, let's see. I've got it here somewhere here, Revelation. Well, anyway, there are angels sent, the four angels who are bound at the Euphrates River. So the four angels who had been prepared for the hour of the day, the month, and you were released to kill a third of mankind. That's another part where we're looking at the Euphrates and the headwaters. And that's why when I look at whether it's in Murat or out of Murat over toward Turkey, wherever the start of the Euphrates River is, it might be 3 or 4 sites. The angels that are going to be released to that are going to dry up the waters of the Euphrates. And that is happening right now as we speak.
Yes, it is.
The Euphrates is drying up. Now, part of it is certainly due to climate changes, but also part of it is due to Turkey and Iran holding back water supplies to people downstream. So they're cutting it back and keeping it from themselves. So that's causing it to dry up. And these are evil places, and I can see where evil angels could use them to.
So explain, and that's biblical prophecy. So look, what are we looking at right here?
Okay, well, right here, when I discovered the Garden of Eden, it took a lot of work to put the continents back together, and that red line you see there is where the old Euphrates headwaters came into the continent here, and it goes up to the top where it bends over. The end of it is where the Euphrates starts today, roughly. Okay. Now, if you go to that other image there.
This one here? This one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I discovered the Garden of Eden, well, it was down in here at the very bottom of the picture here. You can't quite see it where these rivers come from. These are the 4 great rivers out of Eden. And whether it came from the Nile or from the Red Sea path, the Euphrates or Euphrates went down and along. We follow the blue lines up to where they come over and bend through Turkey down to toward the Persian Gulf. Now, in Hebrew, when they talk about it in the Old Testament, they talk about Euphrat, or Euphrat.
Yes.
They repeat it, and it means it's broken. That's the way they pluralized, the pieces of it. Wow. So has always been a puzzle until we found out that it had been broken when Pangea, or when the continents were spread apart after the Great Flood. And so I had to find, the start, which was actually in Tanzania, but for all purposes now, the start of it is up in Turkey, or the southeastern Turkey there. Anyway, that's
so. I want everyone to understand what you're hearing. This is very important. Sandy, explain to us what he just said that he discovered.
Mr. Deyo has discovered the biblical location of the Garden of Eden, and that's an entirely separate show that we need to do. That's too much to really
we will do that
process in this moment, but it is huge. And
because what I think why it's so huge is because the discovery of that and what you have learned about the original Euphrates River and the the headwaters and all the things that we read about in the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis that tells us the different rivers that came in, the 4 different inlets and so forth. Are you saying, Mr. Deyo, that you feel like that there is a direct correlation with two things. I have a two-part question here. The first question is there a direct correlation in the physical that these earthquakes are happening so much in Turkey and Syria, in that area, because of the changes of Euphrates? And then also, do you believe, as the Bible tells us, and we talk about on this show all the time, that God says he gives us the natural first and then the spiritual. He uses natural things to teach us spiritual principles. He'll say, I want you to be like a tree planted by the rivers of living water, to teach us how to be rooted in him. So are you saying that these things that are happening with the Euphrates and the things that are happening in that region of Turkey and Syria and the earthquakes and the drying up of the Euphrates in the natural, is that also just a sign of a spiritual shaking that is happening too? Is this the sign? Is this another huge sign pointing to us that we are probably the final generation that will see the return of the Lord?
Well, I think it is. I mean, Jesus himself said, there are going to be earthquakes in diverse places. And now that we have satellites and TV and all that kind of stuff, we can see earthquakes really happen all over the planet, right now, real time. But in that area there in Turkey, I suspect there are going to be a lot more flurries of serious earthquakes. Now, that has to happen to lower various, or to raise valleys and lower hills in that area, so that the waters that come out of the mountains there to feed the Euphrates start can't get there. And with all of this chaos there, I don't know why it's happening to those people. The Turkish people aren't all bad guys. I mean, but it is part of the earthquakes in diverse places, and I think we're going to see them in other places than here.
Yeah.
Quite seriously,
well, I'll tell you this. Hebrews chapter 12 says that yet once more the heavens and the earth will be shaken, and everything that can be shaken will be shaken until that which cannot be shaken remains. That's going to happen in the spirit realm, but that's also going to happen in the natural realm. And I'm with you. I believe that we're about to see an upsurge. I want to show one quick thing before we handle one more item. I don't know if you've noticed this, but somebody sent this to me the other day, and I wished I would have thought to bring it. But if you will look at the white dots of the exact map that you had, somebody sent me this map, but they colored in all the white dots, and it is a perfect 7. It is literally a 7. And they were like, I don't want to put too much into it, but if you look at it and you'll just sort of follow down the path, it makes a 7. And it was very strange to me. And I was like, the pattern is literally following the number 7, which is number 7 is the number of completion. And when I saw that, I was like, is there something also really weird going on? I'm not trying to be hyper spiritual here, y'all, but that was strange to me that even the map that you just sent me is the exact map, and you color in those white dots and it shows a 7, which is number of completion. I just think it's a sign of more stuff that's going on. It's crazy.
Number 7 is also for years been recognized as the seal of God.
Yes.
Certainly that would be a seal on that prophecy there.
Absolutely.
That occurrence.
Now, explain this to me also. Is this tied? You sent me this slide as well.
Right.
And so this is the olive grove collapse. What am I looking at here?
That's what happened in Turkey for the first series of earthquakes that killed 35,000 people or so, and
Wow.
more. But the top left is an aerial view of the olive grove. With that tan area is the rip that occurred right through the olive grove. And if you look at, let's see, go down underneath that picture one, you'll see men standing on a hillside looking down from what's left of the Olive Garden on that side at this great chasm that opened up.
Oh, goodness.
And if you look across from that on the right, that picture
So
there.
I want to show them again. You're saying the top left is what it was, and then
No, that's how it looks now.
Okay.
It was all those dotted trees, but it got ripped
okay.
apart. And those are olive trees, those little green dots, right?
Okay.
And then you can see the layers in the picture on the right, second row there. You can see how thick the layers are of stone that got ripped apart by this. And you can go down underneath that and you can see another portion of the tributary to that chasm, which went through another part of the olive grove. And this just shows the destruction that was occurring there. And
my goodness,
it's mighty.
It's amazing. It's
just
amazing.
mighty.
That is just a massive, massive crevice. And for that kind of sinking to happen, I mean, that was incredible
It
picture.
was.
Just because that was just a collapse. Where did that go? It went. It's something
Must have been very violent.
violent, and 50,000 confirmed dead now, and they continue to get them. And as Mr. Dale said, they're going to continue to get them as well. So as we come,
sorry,
go ahead. No, you go, sir. Go ahead.
Say that area of Turkey there that we're looking at that map. That area is a very stressed area that occurred at the time of the flood, when the great asteroid hit India and shoved it up into China. It moved seabeds and stuff up, and you can see in that picture there where it just kind of moved up like that. And you can see the ridges, and so there's a lot of stress in that area. So it's got to release, and as we progress here with droughts, we're going to see more volcanoes. They're very concerned down in New Zealand that the Taupo volcano, the caldera there, it's got a lake on top of it, but it's been evaporating. And they're concerned about this because it lifts the lid that was keeping the volcano capped. And if it gets to a certain point, it's going to fracture. All that seawater or that lake water, whatever it is, drop down into the magma pool underneath that and form a huge steam explosion that will just blow tons and tons, cubic miles of stuff up into the atmosphere and cause almost a nuclear winter. And this is, they're concerned about it. I mean, this is officially now, right? It's not just Stanley's vision from 19, whatever it was.
Right.
But,
and here's the thing that big picture audience, you need to think about this is no one is talking about this.
No.
I
haven't heard a word about it.
Not a word. I mean, we're hearing about Ukraine. We're hearing about the economy. We're hearing about goofy stuff that was on the Grammys and all this kind of stuff that we're being distracted by, while Mr. Deyo is telling us the real world things that are happening.
Life-altering planting seasons being affected because of, everything that's going to come out of this volcano if it goes off.
Yeah. Absolutely. Life-altering. And we're talking about global population effect, are we not, sir?
Well, we are. Excuse me, we are. Now, this happened in about, one report said about 200 and some odd AD that it erupted, and it caused 2 or 3 days of blackening of the skies in the northern hemisphere because the Chinese reported it. But there is a Maori woman there that heard my dream vision that I shared with the people down there in New Zealand, and she wrote me a letter and said, look, this is going to happen. We know it's going to blow up soon. But the thing that happens in the northern hemisphere in China is that there will be a failure of a dam due to some kind of corruption about materials they use to build the dam. And when that happens, know that shortly thereafter, this is when Lake Taupo erupts.
So you're saying when the Three Gorges Dam goes soon after Lake Taupo? No.
Sandy, I don't know whether it's Three Gorges Dam or not. It has several tributary dams coming into it. She just said a dam.
A dam.
And, the Maori kahuna woman there, the wise woman there, they look, I listen to a lot of the native people here too when they talk about prophecies, and I listen to these people. You can look them in the face, in the eye, and their eyes are clear and not deceptive. So, I'm just putting that in there. It's not in the Bible, but, there is one mention of a burning mountain being tossed into the sea, and they call Lake Taupo the Taupo Sea, and Ruapeu Mountain, which could be blown off into it. It does get hot. The water does fall down, and then come back and it's steam. But anyway, I try to look at these things.
Well, yeah, and that's why we have you on here, and we appreciate the fact that we have voices like you that have, and that's why you got to go watch the program tomorrow night. And if you're watching this on replay, hunt it up and you'll see it. This interview that we did with Stan Deyo, and it'll be the first.
And just follow Stan Deyo in general
at standeyo.com, and we'll have all of that down in the show description. Because not only is standeyo.com the place where you can go get books, videos, but it's also a news site. We use it as a news site for this show. A lot of the things that you see in the news articles are linked off of standeyo.com. And so you sent me a couple of pictures of a couple of your books, and I want to put them up there. Tell us about Dare to Prepare.
All right. Well, Holly wrote this, the last edition of it in 2018. It's about a 632-page book. And it tells how to prepare for all kinds of things. You can see there in the poker chips, and the cards. They look at earthquakes, solar eruptions, nuclear war, and time is running out. And there's a great deal devoted to how to prepare to endure the fallout from a nuclear blast if you're not in ground zero. How to prepare a shelter in your home with materials that you can get at home or at the, dig it out of your yard and put it in bags and stuff. But
Mm.
she got a hold of a FEMA document from the 50s, which was put out to show people how to make in situ protection for fallout and how long you had to stay there, how many days or a couple of weeks at most, and how to treat your food and stuff like that. And so we were lucky to find one copy that left in a dusty old part of the Pentagon somewhere, and they sent it to us, and we we reproduced it completely in the book. And that's that book there. That's physical preparation, And her other book is the prophetic perils. And if you are reading or watching today's news, you'll see over here, you see Netanyahu with this little fuse and a bomb. And if you zoom up on his hand there, you'll see that it says 90%. And that's when Iran can get to the 90% pure uranium so that they can make a nuclear bomb. And this was back, what, 4 or 5 years ago that he said this, and that we picked it up because it's important. And it's now coming in the news. He's saying they're almost to that 90%. And when they do, they're going to have the ability to make their own nuclear weapons.
Yep.
And at that point, Israel has to strike them. And I look forward to Damascus being destroyed, because that's where the Iranians come in and put their weapons and delivery systems. So it's very important. She's got all this stuff in the Bible about what's in the two wars that occurred in the Middle East and everything.
Well, and of course, we know, as we study Bible prophecy, we know the center of the universe now, the center of the world now is Jerusalem and Israel, and that will be the center of the end in the conflict and the war, the Battle of Armageddon, everything. So there has to be events that pull Iran in, which of course is Babylon, Iraq, Babylon, and you've got Persia. Then you've got the concern, the Revelation talks about being concerned with the army of the east, which is China, then Gog and Magog, which is above, which is Russia. And you think about all these countries that are mentioned in prophecy are all in major conflicts right now. Yes. And Israel's right in the middle of it. So I believe that's why, as long as we have the opportunity to be on platforms like this until they kick us off, these are hugely important, and to get on here and be able to open us. When we call it the big picture, ladies and gentlemen, is because what you're getting in the regular media is not the big picture.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's our mission.
Well,
our mission.
Need to record this. They need to record your shows and put them onto sticks, or what do you call them, flash drives and stuff, so they can share it later with people when we can't talk to them anymore.
Wow, that's so good. What amazing advice. Record this show. We give you permission now. Download this show to save it to your own file. So in case we get kicked off, you've got it. And I've been doing that myself, quite frankly. Hello, YouTube. I know you're listening to me. I have copies of everything that's on here. I just want you to know that.
Totally.
That's awesome. Well, look, this is the show I want to show y'all. And I call it this, and I don't know how you feel about the title, but I just thought when they hear what our government and what you had to go through, just the first layer. I mean, we just began to peel the layers of Stan Deyo. His story is incredible, y'all. And I'm not going to tell you anything about why we have Nikola Tesla up in the corner above
the show.
You'll have to watch the show if you know who Nikola Tesla is and how he is connected to Nicholas Tesla. You need to get that show. But that will be, if you're watching it live, it's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And then, of course, it's always going to be available on the replay, and we'll have him back to get a little bit more about his story. But I was so excited to have you on here tonight to comment on some news items, which has been phenomenal. I mean, I have absolutely loved this, sir.
Yes.
We are just so thankful that you're here.
So needed.
But I also wanted to introduce you to the audience of The Big Picture that may not know you, and to whet their appetite to go watch that interview tomorrow night that we did with you. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Deyo, that you'd like to say to the audience of maybe some things that are going on in your ministry, in your life that you may want to share? And, of course, we'll send everybody to your website, but the floor is yours if you'd like to share anything.
Well, I'm kind of drawing a blank here.
That's okay.
It's been a busy day.
Yes, sir.
I guess the important thing is that where we are now as a bride, as a church of, the bride of Jesus as a church, is we are challenged with witnessing to family and friends and people we don't even know in a manner they would most accept about the need for salvation by Jesus' blood. Because we don't want any of them, even our enemies, to perish in what is coming. So this is important for us to each individually take every opportunity, any opportunity that presents itself, that all you have to do is speak about it, and or whatever else is required to witness to these people, because their time is running out.
Amen. Amen. Well, Mr. Deyo, I think, Sandy, you want to have a parting thought to Mr. Deyo for being with us tonight?
Again, I'm so grateful and so honored to have you here and to introduce you to some people who may not have known about your ministry and about your work before. We only scratched the surface, so I hope you guys will go out and look up some YouTube videos, go to Mr. Deyo's site, get to know him. He is such a blessing.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And there's one more time. Make sure you watch Canceled by His Own Country. And, spoiler alert, it gets better. Yeah, he gets redemption is a part of the story,
Yeah.
but it is an incredible testimony, and we've just begun to introduce you to him. And when we do that with many of we got so many more guests we want to introduce you to. So one last time, I want to tell everybody, go to standdeyo.com. Everything about what he is doing, the way to get his documentaries. He has tremendous documentaries, videos that he has produced. The history of this man, you can read his bio. It will blow your mind when you begin to read just what this man has been involved in. We didn't have time to even touch it on here. We really didn't have time to even touch it on the show in depth that you'll watch, but you'll get an introduction to it. But it's all available at standdeyo.com, and that is going to be down in the link, and you can go there. We appreciate you, sir.
Yes.
We look forward to having you on again. I hope you have a wonderful night.
Bless you.
Tell your lovely wife we appreciate all her work and her effort as well.
Yes.
And we appreciate everything. And Sandy, you and I, we have been blessed tonight to have what I consider to be a general.
A general.
A true
I was
general.
about to say that myself. I'm glad you said that. An absolute general, just of
Does
wisdom,
that mean I get a driver or anything?
experience. A man who really loves God.
Yeah, absolutely. And you heard that. You heard that tonight. Everything he talked about, he kept coming back to, we've got to get people saved.
And that's what we have to do.
We've got
That's got to be the most important, the most central.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we're driven by too. So I just feel like there's no way that we can talk about prophecy and all that we've talked about tonight and not give you an opportunity to know the Lord Jesus Christ. If you don't know him as Lord and Savior, this is all you have to do is first of all, you got to really mean it in your heart. You got to really, truly be ready to surrender. It's not just words that you say, it's a surrender. Just cry out to Jesus right now and just say, Jesus, I ask you to forgive me of my sins and come into my heart and save me. I want to know that I'm forgiven. I'm a child of God, that when all these things begin to get worse and begin to unfold as the word has promised us that it would happen, I want to have peace, that my life is secure in you, and help me to get as many people in my family saved as possible. In Jesus' name, everybody said amen. So parting thoughts to all our Big Picture audience. Oh, and by the way, I want to let y'all know that we're not alone in here tonight.
No,
We actually have a studio audience.
Observers.
I don't know if y'all can hear them. Make some noise, studio audience. We got two gentlemen here, two great men of God. My spiritual son, Brad Graydon, and I'm having a brain freeze. Tell me your name one more time.
Nick Russell.
All right, Nick Russell, youth pastor at a church right up the road. Most of you all know who he is if you live around here. And they are observing because God is moving upon them to do something very similar as well.
Yes.
Be looking for that YouTube channel.
And we need more and more of it.
We need more and more of it. So we're gonna check out tonight, and we're gonna encourage everybody to come back tomorrow night. Watch the show with Stan Deyo. Be back here every Monday night and every Sunday night for the in-depth verse by verse teaching of the book of Revelation. We thank all our partners, all the super chats. We've seen several that came up tonight.
So appreciative.
That you don't know what that means to us. It blesses us so much. Thank you for the appreciating all the activity that was going on in the live chat tonight. We can't wait to go back and read it and look over all the things that have happened. But we want to say we love you, and we always remind you, whether it's Monday night, whether it's Sunday night, whether it's Tuesday night, whether it's in the morning, whether we in Israel, whether we in Birmingham, it don't matter. If you're on the big picture, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. God bless you. See you next time.